Hey guys, and welcome to Littleblackbook 91. We are here sitting down with AJ from Ready to Love Season 4. Yes, this has been one of the most requested lives, I know, because of what we have been seeing on the last few episodes. There are a bag of questions that we want to ask, and I'm going to ask them. I'm going to ask them. But AJ, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Welcome. And for those that don't know, like, it's not just the thing that Kojo was singing at the beginning because he didn't realize that I was already in front of the camera and he was getting stuff set up and he was singing to us. So I was like, oh man, this dude really be serenading himself. It got a little weird. It got to the point where he was really into it. And I was like, hold on, wait. Hey, Kojo, hold on. Sir. Don't stop singing to me. It sounds good. Oh, wait.
I got lost, bro. I got lost. But it's good seeing you, bro. It's good seeing you. Honestly, man. It's good seeing you. You're looking handsome, bro. The beard is looking strong. You understand?
I mean, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I seen you on, now that you follow me on Instagram, your good neat challenge, your step good challenge. I was like, hey, I couldn't do that if I wanted to right about now.
Bro, we're just trying to use all the talents that we have, bro. We're trying to use all the talents that we have in one go. You know what I'm saying? Whilst we're still young. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because the knees ain't going to hold that forever. So, yeah, man. But yeah, appreciate you, bro. Honestly, man. Honestly, appreciate you. We've been watching you on Ready to Love. Many people have their own different opinions. I have my opinions. You know what I'm saying? We agreed, we disagree. You know what I'm saying? I think you've been in probably the most momentous moments in Ready to Love history. You, Kyra, Jason has literally kicked off the history of Ready to Love in terms of conversation, bro. I won't lie to you. But before we get to that stage, we want to get to know AJ a little bit, you know what I mean? And I like to break the ice. So I like to do my human verification, make sure, you know, you're not a deep fake or, you know what I'm saying, you're not some robot sitting in front of me. So I've got a couple of questions to ask you to break that ice for you. Is that all right?
All right, that's cool.
Cool. Let's break the ice with you. So my first question here for my human verification is some song lyrics. I know you're a bit of a musician yourself. So here's the song lyrics. It says, "This stuff is starting now. It's the same feeling I always seem to get about you. There's no mistaking. I'm clearly taken." What is the song?
Man, when you read the lyrics and they don't have any rhythm or no type of melody to them, don't nobody listen to the lyrics that strong like when you just know them. If it was, I don't know. Hold on, say it again.
I read it one more time for you. This stuff is starting now. It's the same feeling I always seem to get about you. There's no mistaking. I'm clearly taken.
Man, I feel like I should know this song. This is like a song.
It's a very popular song, but do you know what? I would have never guessed these lyrics because I've never heard it from the song. Well, someone's really.
Because I want to say it's the song. I got a feeling. No, but it's not. That's tonight's gonna be a day night. Well, I don't know. You got me.
It's Cameo. Candy.
Come on, man. All the lyrics, Cameo, Candy, those are the ones you pick.
Bro, listen. I've never heard those lyrics in the song. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I couldn't even sing that lyric, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I couldn't. You get like that.
Look, hold on, wait. You got people in here. This is Susanna. I thought no. Strawberry, raspberry, all those. Man, come on now. Look, I'm looking at the other parts of that. No.
Don't worry, bro.
You got to change the game on this one right here, though.
Yeah, look. You got it. Don't worry, you got it. Next one, you got this one. It's a riddle.
Okay.
The riddle is this: Mr. and Mrs. Mustard have 6 daughters, and each daughter has one brother. How many people are in the Mustard family? Jesus.
Hey, all right. So repeat it one more time.
Mr. and Mrs. Mustard have 6 daughters, and each daughter has one brother. How many people are in the Mustard family? I don't get this.
Oh, I got it. 6 daughters, right?
Yeah.
Each of them have one brother.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. and Mrs. Mustard. So I'm assuming they're married. So that's 2,
Yep.
6, 7. Gotta be 9.
Bro, you are a legend because there is actually 9.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
actually
cool.
9. Bro, do you know what? As I read it for the third time, I said, "Oh, I get it." But the first 2 times I read it, I said, "I have no clue, blood."
Yeah,
I
9.
was trying to figure out, but you got it. You got it, man. Okay, bro, you're a sharp one, bro. You're sharp when you're dangerous out here, bro. You know what I'm saying? I
Hey,
like that.
so I should be. I'm a whole electrical engineer as well.
We're
That was
gonna talk
boring.
about that. We're gonna talk
It's
about it because
boring. It's boring.
Karen mentioned that on the show, and we was like, "Wait, what? When did this happen?" Like we didn't even know. But we'll talk about
Boring.
it. We're gonna talk about it. I know you worry. We'll get around to that. Last question is this. Last question is this. Cereal or milk first? Which one goes in first? Cereal, milk. Which one goes in first?
All right. So you in the what? UK? Where you at? London?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I eat porridge, right? I'm gonna rock with some porridge.
Yeah, porridge. Yeah.
There we go. I haven't eaten cereal. I haven't eaten cereal in like, it's too much sugar. I haven't eaten cereal in like, I don't know, maybe a decade.
A decade. Okay, a decade ago, what would have gone first? Cereal or milk?
I'm a cereal person first. You know what I'm saying?
What kind of cereal were you eating?
And every now and again, you got to put the ice cubes in it, depending on.
Sorry, what?
You got to make sure the milk is cold. You got to make sure the milk stays cold.
Wait. Say that again because I don't think the audience heard you. Go on.
Yes. You cereal, and you got to put the ice cubes in the bowl with the cereal so you can make sure that the milk stays cold. Only on certain cereal though, because I don't want to water down the milk.
You know what, bro? When you're as good looking as you can put cereal, champagne, whatever you want in the food. Because if you look as good as you do, bro, ain't nobody complaining. I ain't saying nothing.
Hey, but all of the cereal that I like was like mad sugary. So Frosted Flakes, Captain Crunch, Fruit Loops. You know what I'm saying? Crunch Berries. And then you grow up and then you eat like Wheaties and Raisin Bran, and then you be like, I really don't like this for real. Like
that. Because you've been eating ice cubes with
it. I just eat me some oatmeal and call it a day.
Do you eat ice cubes in the oatmeal too?
Come on, man. Oatmeal is hot.
I don't know, bro. I've never heard anyone say ice cubes in cereal, so I gotta
ask. It
ask.
was a weird thing that I seen too. It was one of my cousins did it, and I was like, "Yo, that's weird." But it was like, "Yo, when the cereal, like, I don't like the milk to get warm. I don't want the milk to be warm. Like, I don't want to be warm. Hold on, there's other people in here. Hold on, let me see the comments.
I see one person said they like ice cubes too.
Hold on, exactly. Exactly, they lit.
I remember anyone say ice cubes, bro. Listen, ice cubes. Someone else said they put ice cubes in the milk. Christy also said she put ice cubes in.
I'm telling you, it's a thing. It's a thing. Yo, but I only do it with certain cereal though. I only do it with certain cereal.
Okay, let me leave it as that then. The less said about that, the better. All right. No, we appreciate you, AJ, coming on, and we've broken the ice a little bit. No pun intended. We want to get to know you a bit better before we get onto the show stuff. We want to get to know you a bit better. So AJ, how would your friends describe you in 5 words or less? How would you think your friends would describe you? Tell me.
5 words or less?
Yeah, 5 words or less. 5 different words if you want. 5 different descriptions, whatever you feel like.
Contrarian. Wise, funny, talented, yeah. So what is that, 4? Authentic or eclectic, both of them. Yeah.
Okay. Eclectic. Which one would you say best describes you?
Inclinations.
Inclination. Wait, bro. Listen, my English. I love to use big words. What's inclinations mean?
It's a word that I made up.
So it's a word you made up.
It's a word that I made up in music. Back when you like write rhymes and stuff like that. If you follow certain people, that's back like in the day when cannabis cannot bust or bust the rhyme. So I made a a moniker that was similar to that. It's just basically, in there's ability. You got in, having, possessing, can, the ability to. Nas, Nas told us what Nas means man, east side of woman. And then OUS is a what suffix to be in the state of being, or to be full of, someone to be full of something. So man full of ability. That's it.
I see how you charmed your way into these girls' lives, because this is some trickery with the words, dear sir. I see that you got those skills. You just the mouth of sweets that you must just called her sugar banana, because that's exactly what you just did to me, bro. Just sweet word and dare of how you've weaved it in. I would have never guessed.
So look, I think it was a couple of times that I said some words that didn't exist on on the show, and people were calling me out like, "Oh, that exists." Like, and I was like, it probably didn't, but you knew what I meant though. But you could take the root word and you put a suffix on it, you put a ending on it. Like, it might sound mad crazy, but I think my point was still taken. They got it across.
Have you always been this way? So, like, when you were a child, was you the exact same way as well?
I was always yeah. I think it was probably like, I don't know. It was very early. It was like about first, second grade that I was kind of like, why do you have to choose between being smart and being cool? And so, like, why can't you just be both? Why can't you be intelligent and still be cool? So I always kind of went back and forth. Like, when it was time to do all of the cool things, I did those. And then when it was time to do work and stuff like that, it was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be with all of the nerds getting stuff done. And so, it was a fine balance.
Okay, so like, how would you describe you as a youngster then? What was young AJ like?
Man, like, so city of Chicago. I grew up in the hood. So I grew up on the west side of Chicago. Okay. I saw everything that you could possibly see. It's the reason why I know God exists, because it's only because I had just wisdom that was beyond my years. Because I could have gotten into a whole lot of stuff, right? But I just had a certain level of protection about me, and people seeing there was just something different. So I hung out with people that were into a lot of different things, but I was somehow only able to take away those good qualities. There's a lot of charisma in the street dude. There's a lot of ingenuity in somebody that's out, having crime. There's a lot of planning that goes into a lot of stuff that people are getting into that may have not been of the most legal nature, but we see that and glorify that a lot in a lot of different media that we look into, and we see the brilliance in these people. It just, they applied it to a space of that it was something that kind of put them on the fringes of society, right? So it was kind of one of those things where you could place me anywhere, I feel like, and I'm always be good. You put me in the boardroom or you put me on the street, I'll be okay. I don't know. That's just how I grew up, So even in high school, like, I hooped, I played in the band, I was in the theater, like, you know what I'm saying? I ran with the team, but I hung out with all of the football players. So I didn't have like you couldn't put me in like a single group, because I was around with everybody. And it was kind of one of those things where I didn't necessarily fit in because I had too many other interests, but I could go ahead and blend in that for a while before I needed to move somewhere else.
Do you know what's really interesting? I don't think just that little piece that you shared there. I don't think we ever got that side of you on the show, right?
Yes, you did. I didn't never have any beef.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of
argument with anybody.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the show not portraying you, because there's a degree of intelligence that I'm hearing right now that we didn't get on the show. They just showed you as a good-looking guy who makes money or whatever, doing music, and yeah, okay, great. He didn't pay for a date. That's how they kind of showed you, right? But there's a degree of intelligence that I'm hearing from you right now, which would have been cerebral, and I think would have seen you differently if they had portrayed the side of you.
Sure. They needed tall, dark, and handsome, and silent. You know what I'm saying? I told you, like, when the last interview, I think that you said that you saw, I said that a lot of my conversations were about stuff that was serious because I really don't like small talk. I kind of like shoot straight past that and get to like the crux, or at least try to get to the crux of who you are. And even when it's certain things, like when I said communication, I think people looked at that of like I wasn't able to communicate well or something happened with communication. But if I give you the space to be who you are wholeheartedly and show up as you, and you can't do that, and then you choose to lie, or you choose to not open up, or you choose to just falsely present yourself and think that that's going to hold me in the space, is not. And so the physicality of a relationship is cool, but you're going to spend way more of your time talking to that person, getting to know them, and needing to enjoy those conversations, and being able to make each other laugh, or having a different perspective. Or even when I said that, like, sometimes not understanding a person is fine. You're right, because if you listen to a person talk long enough, you'll start it'll click eventually. That's what school is. You sat in the classroom every day and you listen to a professor talk about something that you probably had no clue what they were talking about. And after 6 months or 8 months or however long the school year is, it was like, oh, okay, I understand this now. I'm able to have a different perspective. It changes you. You're able to incorporate that into your lexicon of knowledge. So.
Love that, man. Before we go back more into your childhood, I mean, who is AJ, and what is AJ's story?
Well, what do you mean? My story for me is simple.
Okay, let us know your story. I mean, who is AJ?
I'm a person that like gets bored easy, so I've always been good at least everything. That, like, if I try something, or if I do something, I'm gonna at least be like halfway decent at it, and I'm gonna like work at it until I am. And a lot of things in life, once I was good at it, I left it alone. Whether it was tumbling and like flipping, like one of those kids that was outside doing somersaults and backflips off of buses and mattresses and things like that, or whether it was skating, or drawing, or painting, or joining a MLM at like 12, 13, 14, and what I'm saying, and trying to sell things like door-to-door salesman type of stuff. And I probably say that was probably like maybe the biggest thing, because if anybody's ever joined like a multi-level marketing group or something like that, they're very big on self-development. So they get you in front of a lot of books. So, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Who Moved My Cheese, As a Man Think Of, Think and Become Rich. Like, these were the books that I was reading like at 13, 14. And then at the same time, I was living and experiencing a world where like books like Donald Goines and Iceberg Slim and stuff like that, I was reading outside. As long as well with, like, I was fortunate enough that all my schools that I went to were like all Black schools. So African American literature, African American history, like being very submersed in just Black culture and Black history, and knowing just a lot, about, where it is that we come from, what's our story here in America. So it's always interesting to talk to people that's like from other places, that's like Black, that don't necessarily know all of the history of why things are the way that they are in America. Like, you guys have a different perspective on that, and the type of history that you learn, because I'm pretty sure for you it wasn't like it was treason. You know what I'm saying? When the folks left from England and went to America, like that was considered, oh, these were treasonous people. It wasn't like a heroic ass thing that was happening, because history goes for the people that win, right? Like, you can rewrite history and say, oh, okay, this is how it was. And so, like for Black people, I think we have a unique type of situation where we have to seek out like what our real impact has been. But hey, man, don't let me go on and ramble for forever. Like, give me some questions.
Listen, this is what I do. You know, you got like people say. Let's say, okay, cool. So let me nail you a little bit. So I think it's quite interesting because I'm taking in, like you said, I'm listening to you and I'm taking in everything you're saying. So when I asked obviously about who is AJ, it's interesting that you described yourself through a means of talking about the education and the books and the knowledge that you've actually acquired over the time to kind of describe who you are. And I'm guessing that's because obviously, like I said, you're probably very multifaceted. So it's kind of hard to describe who AJ is. So I want to nail you down again.
Yeah. Well,
Who
look,
is AJ today?
man, still, I'm in a million and two different directions, man. So I still work a corporate job as an electrical engineer. I
Okay.
obviously produce music. I own a trucking company. Um, I have like a store. I trade stocks. I'm trying. I'm not quite to seven yet, but they say you should have seven different saying sources of income. So, we working on that. We probably at about a good five. We had a good solid five. We're looking for two more to figure out. That's the reason why I could have a hat like El Cheapo or something and it'd be funny. You know what I'm saying? It's just, like certain situations happen and that's is what they are. And I guess if I was like actually any of the stuff that people were saying, it would hurt some. But if people want to believe that I'm cheap or broke or anything like that, that's please by all means. Like, because I am frugal. Like I like to invest. I like to get a good return on the investment. I'm not a person that wastes money. Money is a tool. So and whatever you put your money in, it should be a good investment. It should be a good return. So I always looked. So like with you, I don't. You're a life coach or what's your background? Like, do you have the degree in sociology or
Nope.
psychology? No,
Nope.
it's just
I
something
thought
that you.
psychology.
It was something that you just took interest in.
Yep. Yeah.
Me too. I looked at it where it was like I got one. Can I curse or no? Like we keeping it clean? No? All right,
Keep it
cool. All right,
clean.
great. I'm glad I asked. So I got one good beating one time. I don't know if anybody can relate to this. I got a good whooping, and you get asked that question: why did you do what it is that you did? And I had nothing. It was I don't know. And the whooping was way worse because I didn't know why I did the thing that I did to get in trouble. And from that moment on, I kind of looked at everything of, well, why am I doing this? And then I looked at other people and I said, well, why are they doing that? And what motivates people to do stuff? And then you have a lot of social experiments. You get good at putting yourself in situations and getting yourself out of situations. I was probably the guy that purposely uh, I'm sorry if that's bothering folks. I don't know. I'm getting random stuff.
Yeah, some girls
But
DMing you.
no, it's email, work email.
I'm
Look,
playing
that's
with you,
the
bro.
thing, right? So
I'm playing with you, bro.
I don't know if I'm unapproachable. People always ask me, so how is it now that the show is whatever? Like I get very little, like people barely come up to me. People barely are in my inbox. I look, I watch your stuff because it's actually kind of dope because it has a strong basis in psychology or sociology, which is the reason why I asked you, did you study it? Because it's a lot of times it's on point. You know what I'm saying? It's sound. Like, and I know people look at it like, okay, what's their attachment style and what type of personality they are and all that. You got to remember, this is a television show. There's only so many different types of personalities that you can
Go
have,
through.
and somebody's in the background saying, okay, I know what type of personality this person is based on their belief system and blah blah blah. And like, if we put these people together and put them in these type of situations,
It gets
it's
mad.
probably going to be interesting. You know what I'm saying? If you noticed, they didn't put me in any of those situations. I think it was because they saw that like I'm actually like aware and cognizant of what's happening as it's happening. So I never looked the way that I didn't want to look. You know what I'm saying? I spent it's a lot of the show that you just didn't get to see because something happened and leaked out, and I won't get into it. And I spent most of the show not necessarily defending it, but just kind of having conversations about it with people to see where they stood. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned a little bit about your childhood and being and being grew up in Chicago as well, having to survive out there, right? Did you grow up with both your parents as well?
Yeah, yeah. What's that?
Did you grow up with both your parents as well while you were in Chicago?
No,
Or was...
my parents divorced when I was like 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So my mom for the most part.
Okay, cool. Okay, so do you have any siblings, or was it just yourself you were growing up with?
I'm oldest. I have a younger brother and a younger sister, but then I have like older brothers from my dad that I didn't know, and then I have like older siblings through marriage. Is you know what I'm saying as well. Like so, I have older stepbrothers too. Yeah. Yeah.
What was it? So what was it like growing up then in a household? Obviously, I know you said your parents divorced early. What was it like growing up in that household so far then?
Man, I had a lot of autonomy. So I had a lot of autonomy to do kind of whatever. I definitely probably have like that classic, the oldest person that achieves and models themselves. Because all right, so my mother graduated high school at 15. She graduated college at 19.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, school is something that you're supposed to just do. Like, it's no question about, whether or not you should have good grades or not. School is something that you're supposed to just do. And I'll put it to you like this. My mother kept all of her books, and we had like a big, like, uh, like bookshelf, like in the back room. So, back when encyclopedias was still like a thing, we had like 2-3 sets of so I didn't have to go to the library. Right? I could go to the back room and pick out whatever book and write whatever report or whatever I needed to do. But I kind of like at 6th grade, I looked at like all of her math and algebra books and all of that. I didn't learn really any more new math until I got to college.
Because you were that advanced in that sense ahead of time.
Yeah, I did all of the math and went through all of her math books and stuff and just like read stuff like probably from 6th to 8th grade. And so when you see my friend like ask Kyra, like what's the last book that you read? Like people killed that, you know what I'm saying, in the comments. It was like, what was that question? It was like, well, if you knew me, you understand why that they're asking that. Like, because my conversations with him were always about, well, what's the last thing that you read and deciphering ideas and taking, being able to gather like what you liked from that, what you didn't like, and being able to, cut the fat, so to speak, like, cut the fat, keep the meat. Like, okay, I like that. There's no new idea under the sun, really. So, it's just repackaged, and we tend to like certain types of people telling us the same stuff. Some people like to hear it from a spiritual standpoint. Some people like to hear it from a religious standpoint. Some people like to hear it from a growth standpoint of self-improvement, like whatever. But if you really kind of get down to the nuts and bolts of it, it's all the same.
What would you say was your greatest achievement then as a young man then? As a young man, you're in high school, college kind of times. What would you say is your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement?
Yeah.
In high school?
High school, college times. What would you say is your greatest achievement for you then?
I don't know if it's that was the thing. I just kind of like, I'm a modest person. So I don't really, I don't think that I celebrated anything. Like I was the person that kind of just like, I walked across the stage. I barely invited people to graduation, high school or college. I just walked across the stage and got my diploma and said, okay, here's the next thing. But something that was cool that happened that I look back now and I was like, man, I probably should have relished that a little bit more. Is in high school, I got to be on like WGN in the morning, like the band, and like play out. And then, we got to open up for Roy Ayers one year. Like Jazz on Pizzazz, like kind of in the park, one of those concerts and things. And they get the local talent, especially the young talent, and they have them open up for like a jazz great. So we got to do it for Roy Ayers one year. And then they invited us back to, with Norman Connors the next year. And he was on the timpani and everything. Like, and Roy Ayers was on the xylophone. He was getting it. You know what I'm saying? So it was dope, and just having those opportunities to meet people like that, like winning Marcellus, and you know what I'm saying, and being around like at a young age in high school. So that's the reason why I stopped playing basketball. It was either go to basketball practice or make $500-$600 playing some teachers conference or some benefit, you know what I'm saying, for a couple of hours and eating real good, and making like, $150-$200 an hour playing the bass, like in high school.
Wow. So you pretty much gave up basketball. You gave up basketball. In a sense, you kind of gave up basketball to kind of pursue more of the musical aspect.
Like I went to high school with like Quentin Richardson and like Darius Miles and all of these type of people. There was, folks was like Nike Carriers was sitting in them basketball shoes in class talking about like, they was trying to recruit heavy. You know what I'm saying? I was with like the people that was in the Slam magazine. You know what I'm saying? I was deep on that. You know what I'm saying? So like I wasn't getting any attention given to me in the development phase of like basketball or stuff like that. But music was one of those things. So regardless of how good I got at it, it was still like a lot of stuff for me to learn. It was never I felt like I was ever good enough. I still don't feel like I'm good enough in music. And I've been doing music probably for like off and on. It's been a part of my life pretty much since 8th grade, since like 14.
Wow. I mean, and you talk about, obviously we know that you're involved in music, I know you end up kind of living a bit of producing and stuff like that. What actually got you inspired to go into music? Because like you said, you were doing basketball at the time. So what inspired you to go into music then?
So music started 8th grade. And it was essentially just because I didn't want to sing I Believe I Can Fly. That's it. It was that R. Kelly song came out. I hated it all the way back then. And I was like, I'm not singing it. And it was like everybody has to sing. And our school brought some instruments, and it was like, well, if you don't sing, you have to play an instrument. And they had an electric bass. It was like black and it had gold fleck on it. It was badass. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna play that. Because this was back in the time of where, this is the 90s, 97, 98. Playing the piano was still kind of not necessarily the most, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It was kind of like, that's not the most, and I didn't have the coordination for drums. I didn't, and being able to play like 3 or 4 songs in a few weeks, I didn't want to play like the saxophone or something. So it was the bass. I don't know. And it stuck. I stayed with it. I played the bass all throughout high school in the jazz band. And I didn't want to major in music when I went to college. So I kind of needed a way to keep music around and in my peripheral in my life. It was something that I enjoyed. So I started producing music.
Okay. I mean, so currently now, what is inspiring you now going forward? Freedom. In terms of music wise.
Oh, music? Oh man.
Yeah. What inspires you?
Man. Growing. Yeah. Like music is like a diary, right? You know what I'm saying? So you like really are, when you do it right, regardless of what skill you develop, you have something that you can go back to years later or a day later or 2 days later and really like listen and observe yourself and kind of like relive a moment, right? You know what I'm saying? So that was what really kind of interested me in doing the show in the first place, because it's like, yo, I get to experience myself in a different type of way that I never ever get to experience myself. I'll be able to see how other people see me, regardless of what they edit, how they edit it. It's still me, and to see how people take me, how I come off to people, and if I don't like it, it's something that I can address and look at it myself. But everything that you saw was definitely like me. The only thing is like I said, they kind of just cut conversation out because I felt like it just wasn't entertaining.
Okay.
Because it was like it was me being like this. You know what I'm saying? Like having a conversation about, you know, and it wasn't weird enough. It wasn't like, not to say that what KG likes is weird, but it wasn't me talking about aliens and the moon and the stars. Now, can I get over there with you? Yeah, but we're not going to stay there, though. Like, you know, we got to go ahead and come back to something else that's a little bit more practical and tangible. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
It's interesting listening to you talk, and the reason why it's interesting, I think, because you mentioned something which I think you was talking about, even going to school with a couple other people, and you was very cautious and name dropping, and even where you spoke about yourself, I even picked up that you was being a little bit hard on yourself. I mean, is that something that? And I know it sounds like you're quite introspective too, as well. Is that something that you do quite a bit? Like you kind of downplay AJ a little bit?
For sure. So that the first, like, the Meet the Singles, that was, I don't know how they did it, but they somehow made that seem like I was the most confident, cocky dude ever, right? Oh, you see the brown skin, you see the bald head. I think I was making a joke, because she was just like, yo, talk your, she was like, talk your ish. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you a good looking guy. Like, what? And I think I was more along the line saying, like, oh, what, you think that I would be like this? And then I did that. And then they cut that first part out. Oh, we got what we need. You know what I'm saying? And then, they ran with it. But it was cool, though. I think that, people always ask me, like, yo, because when I do approach things, I approach them in a very confident manner. And I always have one statement for that. Why do you think that I attempt to do something and believe in my mind that I was going to fail? Like, of course, everything. Like, yeah, if I'm asking you out, I asked you out as if this was it's a definite yes. There's no way possible that you saying no. Because if I approached it and I had that doubt or that disbelief in my mind, that's going to ring true. That's going to come out. And so why do it? If I can't believe in whatever it is that I'm doing, if I can't see the end goal and me already being there, then it's kind of pointless. So you got to see it first. You got to be able to see that you already accomplished what it is that you're going to accomplish, and then kind of like what your football coach said: when you get into the end zone, act like you've been there before and gonna be back. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm coming back. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be back over here soon. Hit the ball, coach. Hit the ball, ref. Like, touchdown. Like, so I've been very poor in being able to celebrate and gloat about, accomplishing things. Yeah.
Is that, see, this is why I love these conversations here first, because you mentioned earlier on firstborn, parents obviously split up kind of early, independence from early. Who has celebrated you from the time you're young to now? Who has really celebrated you? Because it sounds like
not very many.
There we go.
Not very many. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So it was just kind of a thing of where I was kind of like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. That's it. And this is what you're supposed to do. Like, oh, okay, next thing, here we go. Next, make a plan, have a goal, have an aspiration. Next,
hit it.
Yeah.
So when do you get time to really celebrate what you do? Because, bro, you were mentioning some big names that you kind of even were going to school with, and you kind of played it down. Like, I see that you play a lot of things kind of down. So, when do we get to celebrate AJ? When are you going to get to that time to be able to?
The first million, then we'll go ahead and do something. We'll do something nice. We'll do something fly. Yeah,
See, I don't know if you would. Because why is million the goal when you're already doing great things now?
I don't know. I just picked the number. I just picked the number. But no, I take more time to like actually just say, oh man, that's cool. And I think that I've opened myself up enough now to where I have like different types of people around me and genuine people around me, and they kind of force me to say like, oh, okay, like no, that's big, and that's this, that's, and I've taken even just now, just like it's certain things that I've taken for granted, like my perspective, right? I usually think that everybody's looking at things this deeply or this like detailed or this methodically, right? And then when they don't, I'm in conversation. It's like, oh, you didn't see that? You didn't pick up on that? Like, and now I'm more in the space of where it's like, oh, okay, no, I really do look at this differently, and I can't take that for granted, you know. And I think that that's in the space now where, especially like from this show, it was kind of like a catalyst, but it was already work, just me working on myself, and to be able to be, you know, open to coming on the show, because I didn't seek to come on this show at all. Like it, yeah, it was like a couple people to hit me up like in my DMs, and I didn't know anything about the show, hadn't watched the show, and it was kind of like, no, are you interested in being on the show? It was like, no. And it was probably about when I started asking people, and it's like, yo, you don't know what happened. You know what I'm saying? This is happening for a reason. You say people ask you again, and it was kind of like, I was thinking about it where it was like, oh, you know, kind of opening myself up to the idea. And another person hit me up about doing the show. And it was like, oh, okay. And at this point, it was like the director. It was like the lead person. They were hitting me up personally, and I talked to them a lot. And I didn't realize that it was until we get on set and then see like, oh, this is the guy I was talking to. Like they're running like the show. Like I'm not talking to like you know, one of the talent producers or anything like that. I was talking to like the main guy. It was like, oh, okay, cool. Like this is dope. Kind of looks like you, low key, but
I need to find my doppelganger quick.
Yeah, but you know, I was like, yo, let me open myself up to this and you know, continue on this journey of like kind of basically self-discovery, and figure out what it is that I want in a mate, because really, and I think this probably all guys, most guys go into a romantic situation trying to figure out what the woman wants. And they don't necessarily have like, well, this has to be like this and this has to be like that. Like I didn't really have set criteria of a woman. Like I just wanted them to be authentic to themselves and show up like with, you know, as who they were, right? Now, of course, if I was felt disrespected or something was amiss, I could go ahead and talk about that. But you know, I generally kind of accepted people for whoever they were, right? You know what I'm saying? And look at them as a whole person and not just kind of based on how they look or what they have or what they do.
Yeah. Okay. Before you go into Ready to Love, what was a dating scene for you like? What was a dating scene for you? Because obviously you got recruited, so it doesn't mean that you necessarily were looking for that. What was a dating game for you like?
So it was interesting, right? So people kind of had this thing, and that was the only thing that I didn't think through, right? So instead of saying, okay, I had like a solid, stable career, and me saying that I was a music producer, you know, people heard music producer or musician, and it was like, oh, for the streets.
Get them, boys.
And it really wasn't like that. I said, I got here when I was 27, and I hit the scene hard. I hit the scene hard because all throughout college, I promoted parties. I promoted parties and I promoted comedy shows, right? Okay. So like my whole time in college, you know what I'm saying? I promoted parties and I promoted comedy shows. So like all of the top comics that you see like that are out of Chicago, like I've had interaction with them, whether it be like You know, Sean Morgan, Damn Fool, Little Rail, Deion Cole, or you know what I'm saying, who else? Like you name them, I've had interaction with them. About the only person, and I met them here while I was in Houston, was like Corey Holcomb, who's hilarious. But like, so I was always around people that were funny, people that were charismatic. Like, so I always had a lot of people to kind of like model after. And then you promoting parties, and so now you're hosting parties. So you know, free before 11. It's nothing but women in the place, and now you gotta kind of hold the women in the party. They're not men there because the men are gonna get there late, and so you kind of learn. You learn things, you know, kind of early of how to move in places, right? So you know, if I was throwing a party or something at a club, I would tip like the one waitress. I would tip her like $40, and I wouldn't even really order a drink, but I knew I was gonna go ahead and need her like later on, and so I would give like the most cheapest whale like sweet drinks or whatever, and you know, you get like 10 of them, and you see women sitting there and be like, oh, hey, thank you for coming out to my party. You know what I'm saying? You know, like, y'all want a shot? Like, let's take a shot. And you go ahead, and now you go to the well, and I probably would pass out probably like, I don't know, 15, 20 shots before the evening was, and I wouldn't have to pay for any of them because I've already like tipped the waitress. And so when it came to me being here in Houston, I didn't know anybody. I had no family here. So it was like, all right, I know I produce music. I know I'm in the major city. I know I want to, you know, I'm thinking Rap A Lot was like a bigger thing than it was, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I was sad at that. But you know what I'm saying? It was just like, yo, I really liked and respected, you know what I'm saying, Houston as a culture and their music and what they brought, you know, to the music scene. So I came down here and it was very different, right? So I was like, man, I'm going to the clubs, and I did my thing. You know, you learn who the bouncers are,
and when you
then
say do your thing, what do you mean in terms of dating? When in terms of dating,
well,
because it sounds like you sound like you're around the scene, bro, for the streets. That's what it sounds like.
No. But that was the thing, right? I'm talking about what I really did versus how
what
it
people
sounded.
think you did.
Yeah. So like I got, you know, to places, and you know, the bouncer's name, if you can remember their name, now I don't have to stand in line. Now I don't have to pay the cover. I could walk right in. And really it was just a matter of, hey, I'm from Chicago. Like, these are people I worked with, you know, people that's in that type of scene. They kind of know each other from, you know, you say the right names. It's like, oh, you okay, cool. You're good. You know what I'm saying? And so like I had that. Now you start knowing the bartenders. And I promoted parties and did stuff here for a little while. And then the women kind of happen, and they kind of smell it on you that you like not from here. And so it was two type of women. It was like that.
Okay.
When I first got here, it was the women that like were career oriented, because there's a lot of women here doing a lot of like fantastic stuff, like scientists for NASA and you know, lawyers and whatever. And those women kind of approach dating a little bit different. It was like, yo, look, I don't want you to think that like I'm trying to be after your money or whatever. Like, and you're new to the city, I want to take you out, type of thing. It was like, what? It was the weirdest thing ever. Or I had never went on the date where a woman met you at the place. I don't care if you was 32 miles away. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, as a guy from Chicago, you went and picked the woman up, and then you took her on a date, and you did the whole thing, right? And you dropped her off, and like that's what a date was. Like when I got here to Houston, it was like, oh, I'll meet you there. Meet me there? Like, what are you talking about? So the Houston dating like was really, really different for me. You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of like a whole different thing of where I got to really appreciate how women felt. when they go into places, it was like, hold on, wait a second, I feel like meat in this thing, right? What's going on? So it was kind of like, I don't know. I liken it to a person that had a really good personality and always were cute in the face, whether it be a man or a guy. I mean, or a guy or a girl, and then they like slim down, right? And then they stay cute and they stay having a good personality, but now they're like, we're fit. it's different. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like what it is that I felt happen. But it was just because I moved and changed from one city to the next, where I had like a lot of attention that I wasn't necessarily used to. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that when you got to Houston, the streets were hot and the attention was brimming. So a brother was getting a lot of prospects here. What you're trying to say?
Yeah.
So
Houston.
how was dating then for you? How was the dating like then? Because obviously I know you mentioned a little bit by saying it's different now. The women are almost kind of moving towards you in a sense and meeting you there in a kind of sense as well.
Yes,
So
and took me completely back. Like it was a take in the back.
Okay.
And so I engaged in, you know what I'm saying, for the first little part because I felt like at least like these would be the people that was going to introduce me into other people and kind of that thing. But I always kind of kept it light. I didn't never really get into a relationship. As a matter of fact, for the first 5 years I was in Houston, I was like, yo, I'm not really even interested in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm not interested in a relationship at all. And so I just put that on the table immediately. And anything else that would take place after that was just kind of like, oh, okay, that's what took place. So I've been here 10 years. I've been in like one actual relationship and a couple of situations.
So what would you say is what's the longest relationship you've been in? What was the longest relationship you've been in?
About 4 years.
Okay, how did that go? How did that go? That relationship?
It didn't.
Wait, what? It really didn't. Yeah, I know it ended. Okay, so why did it end then? Why did it end? Yeah, because it's 4 years, it's a long time.
It is. 4 years is a long time, and again, you feel like. So women say they have women's intuition, right? And so I feel like with you, right, you're able to be insightful because you're able to look at a person and then apply like actual science and logic to it. A lot of times people like to think that we're like these unique beings and I'm so different. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. You put a person in a particular situation, there's only so many different ways that they're going to respond. And the way that they respond, you're able to tell a lot about them as a person. So the same way, like, FBI or police able to profile people really quickly, if you get into enough conversations with people, and unfortunately, promoting parties and talking to women extensively, like, you start to just know women and you're able to pick up on certain things, right? And so that can become mechanical to you. You know what I'm saying? And it's not necessarily, and like while they may be having a fantastic experience, I'm looking like, this is very like, when do we get to the good part? Like when do we get to the part where it's like, like you're actually showing me your honest self and what you really care about, what you're truly sensitive about, where it is that you're going, what you're doing for real. Like, I think people try to put their best foot forward way too often. And it's just like, no, just show up as who you are. Like, instead of going to the steak restaurant, go to the taco spot down the street. Like, hey, do you want to go get some of these tacos down the street with me or not? Like, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to necessarily, I seen you out. I seen what you look like in the dress and made up and all of that. Like, how do you look on your day-to-day regular? And I didn't never want that to be kind of like a surprise because I'm going to see that person way more than I see this made up person that you're expecting to take you out to all of these fancy places. And I don't want that, like, show me the real, like, up front.
So are you saying that you didn't get are you saying that the cause of a relationship breakdown is that you didn't get to see the real her? Or absolutely. Are we talking about something else happening also in a relationship?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, it's some point, and it's sad, like women, from my experience, women are more apt to be in an intimate space with you than to give you their intimate thoughts. Right? Like, physically. And so that I think that was kind of what you were saying, somewhat in the show. Like, so it's like, okay, I know how to do that. I've done that. Like I want to be able to connect with a person on a like a different level, on like a real level, because that's what's important to me. I'm definitely a sapiosexual for sure. You know,
so you're saying in a sense that there wasn't the depth of the connection. We're talking about that, that different connection where it goes deeper.
Absolutely. But now, don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's always dope to walk into a place and have like the finest woman, you know what I'm saying, with you. You know, it can pump your ego up real fast, and then it gets old quick. So, you know, everybody sees it. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a guy, like it's a whole world that happens that women just are kind of like unaware of. You're out with a woman and she's beautiful, she's dressed, you know what I'm saying, to impress. Like dudes that have never talked to you ever will come up to you and say, "Hey, bro, like how you doing?" And you be looking like, "Yo, who is this guy saying something to me right now, bro? You don't say nothing to me for real like that every day. You're only saying something to me because you like who it is that I'm with." And while that's cool, you know, that only goes so far, right? But you know, that's the reason why women are always invited to business dinners. Women will get you into a room way faster than talent, and you know, or anything like that. The right woman can take you far, man.
Okay, so so to clarify, the relationship ended because simply y'all didn't connect on that deep level. There was no cheating. Nobody was infidelitous. Nobody was.
All that happened, Coach Joe.
Why you just say that, bro? Why you gonna give me the whole spiel, bro?
Because that's not the thing that ended the relationship. You know what I'm saying? No. That's not it.
That's a big part of the thing, bro. Wait. So someone cheated.
Let me put it like this. Let me put it like every serious relationship that I've ever been in, I've been cheated on.
Oh snap! So it wasn't that cheated.
Every serious relationship that I've been in, I've been cheated on. Now that doesn't mean that I haven't also cheated in a relationship, but in most cases, it was. It's been a few times I cheated first, but I would probably say overwhelmingly, I've been cheated on first. Overwhelming.
So this 4-year relationship where you cheated on first.
I can't recall. It was literally college. It was like 15 years ago, man.
Oh wait. So since then, have you not had another serious long-term relationship
where we were actually committed in a relationship?
Yeah.
No. So I've been committed in relationships for 1 or 2 years, and then you do that whole after relationship kind of thing.
The sex after, the ex.
You know, well, I don't know if you just even call it
make
that.
Up to break up.
You could take that off the table because you kind of just still like connected with this person and you like, yo, I really care about them. I really like them. I could see a future with them. Only if these little things were different, right? You know, and you come to a space where you know you have to say, like, man, I have to accept this person as they are right now, and you can't look at the potential of who a person possibly could be, right? Because then you're not being fair to them and you're not being fair to yourself, right? Because you're trying to make a person into something that they're not, right? And you're living in a different reality. So really the thing about relationships is a person has to be really willing to share what their reality is, right? Like what's their reality? Because every person creates their own reality through their perception. Right? You know what I'm saying? You could have an orange is green, one side is orange on the other. You hold it in one spot, you put another person over there and y'all can argue for days. The orange is green. And no, the orange is orange. But it's only because you're from your vantage point and your perception of what's real to you based on the things that you're able to gauge and see at that particular point in time. And if y'all
would you say in whole heart, man to man, would you say there are some commitment issues that you feel on your end?
Absolutely. Okay. I won't, you know, look, we see it enough already, right? The rates and all of that is crazy. And I think, you know, in my experience, I've had women tell me they love me on Tuesday and then breaking up with me on Friday. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that happens. So love is fickle, you know. That's not ever the thing that'll hold a relationship together. It's really what's your level of devotion, what's your level of commitment, who you are as a person, what your values are, what the goal is that you create together. You know what I'm saying? Because I think a lot of times people come into those spaces and trying to operate from their own agenda, men and women. And so it's like, all right, well, whose agenda is going to win? Unless you guys create an agenda that y'all both come up with together that y'all could buy into. And that's where like the man leadership kind of things should come in, because every love story that you've ever saw happened the same way. It was some man, usually after sex, because intimacy opens a man up. He was sitting around talking about what he wanted to do with his life, and he was saying this to a woman, and he said, oh, okay, this is where I see you in my life. Cut the wedding. Like every movie ever. Think of a love story. It was a guy that saw a woman and said, that woman, whatever, like, yo, that's going to be my wife or whatever. And so women see that and think that it's just that easy for us as guys. And it is, but it's not.
So do you think, let me ask a real question. Do you think you know what real love is?
Sure. Real love is unconditional. Again, it's about being able to accept the person as they are. But first, that person has to be able to accept themselves as who they are and not worry about what they are doing that they feel like they think that you would like. You ever been with a person that's operating from that space?
Yeah.
I have. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we do as guys. We don't eat at steak restaurants and go all of these fancy places by yourself. Like, you're only there because you're on a date.
Would you say that you're open? Would you say that you're open? On a real spit, would you say that you, when you're dating, you are open?
Absolutely. Okay. I wasn't always, but no, absolutely. I'm absolutely open, but I'm not going to feel like I have to put myself on sale either, though. I'm not in the space of where I'm trying to convince you of anything. I'm going to show up as me. We can have a conversation. That conversation can go as deep as you want it to go, or it can be as bland as you want it to be because you refuse to be surface. I'll figure out what your favorite color is later. Like, what are you trying to do with your life? Especially at this age. Where are you going? What do you want? What are you doing? What's held you back to this point right now? Like, do you know? Or you think it's everybody else? Do you think it's everybody else, or do you think it's you? Because the only person that's the consistent in that is you. Right? You know, wherever you go, there you are.
Okay, do you know what's so interesting? I think God is amazing. So, literally, I filmed a video today based on a podcast called Dear Wifey Podcast. Shout out to them. King J was on, Elsa was on, and they were talking about value. And I talked about value, and I started talking about people wanting people of depth. Literally, this was the conversation I had on the live. I'm releasing that video tomorrow. It was literally a conversation about depth and dating people that has depth. I said the very first thing is many people have people that are attracted to them, right? That's not your
no natural hair.
Many people have people that are attracted to them, right? But when people complain about not meeting people that have depth, I always ask this question: so what market are you marketing? Because if you're asking for someone of depth to come towards you, then that means you are marketing depth for them. But maybe that even though you are, and I know you are a deep person, because I'm listening to you, bro, because you are a deep person, you're a deep thinker, you think about things, you're taking in stock of different thoughts, right? You're bringing it all into conjunction. But I think what's happening here is that potentially there's a lot that's going on in your mind, and it's making it difficult for someone to get involved and with someone of depth, because what they're having to do is actually debunk and de-junk some of the thoughts that are going on. Because sometimes when you're answering it, you're giving me 4 or 5 different perspectives, and I'm like, bro, we only need one. But you're thinking so deeply that you come with 4 or 5 different thoughts at once. You give me 4 or 5 different perspectives, and unfortunately, not everyone and you're asking someone to come in almost like, when you have cables behind the TV. You have cables behind the TV, and it's all tangled. Someone has to come in there and untangle all those cables. And I think sometimes for women coming into that is difficult in the space that you're in. Go on, bro. You want to say something? Go for it.
No. So the thing about it is I tend to meet people where they are. So like I'm not, you tailor your conversation for the audience that you are in, right? You know what I'm saying? You code switch every day, right? It's certain words that make sense for you and your friends or your group because language is fluid. So while it may sound like it's different perspectives, for me, it's all the same, right? So it's the same way that I said, no matter if you're talking about it from a spiritual aspect or religious aspect or from a self-improvement aspect or from whatever, those all seem like different perspectives that should be in contradiction with each other, but for me, they're not. You know what I'm saying? Because at the core of them, they're all saying the same thing, right? So me just being able to look at things from more than one space, it's about, how's the other person showing up? Like, what's their communication? But if a person, like when you really first meet people, a lot of times people don't like to talk about themselves. I know because I'm one of them, kind of. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
So they're gonna ask you a bunch of questions about what's important to you and what do you want and what do you like and all of that type of stuff, and kind of leave what's important to them kind of hidden, and you kind of have to dig it, out of them. You have to kind of uncover it from them. Like that was kind of how I felt about like Chrysanthemum. Like I felt like she was really, really dope. You know what I'm saying? But like when I was in conversation with her, it was like, oh, okay, cool. Like you're gorgeous, you're beautiful, you could dress, all of these things. I'm interested. What's up? Like what do you got going on? And in the context of the show of how fast things were moving, and plus they made me stop taking her outside of the show. I wasn't able to make that strong, of a connection. Like she was one of those people that kept everything tight too. So I didn't know who was dating or what was going on. You couldn't ask her anything about like, what anybody else was doing or anything like that. You wasn't going to figure it out. So literally I had to watch the show. Oh, it was Ron. Oh, okay. Cause I figured it had to be somebody. And I think that was the advantage, like whether good or bad, that was the advantage like the women had. They were really talking about what their experiences were with each guy and like going really into detail about it, as you know. The men, no, absolutely not. You know what I'm saying? You didn't know what anybody did. You know what I'm saying? You hear a lot of talking about who they liked or whatever. But if they was working on something or trying to, really be at a woman, I think it was probably only like Jason and Ron that really kind of were the more vocal, and Joel too, because it was simple. It was like, Venetia. And that was it, But, between Ron and Jason, of course, they had the people that they were vocally after. And then that's the reason why it was kind of such a surprise when, like, later on, it was like Liz. It was like, hold on, wait a second, sir. You haven't mentioned this woman kind of really at all. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, where's this coming from? Because he was so vocal early on about Kyra. And then, of course, I think the way they portrayed it made it seem like that I was at Kyra the whole time while she was just doing whatever. But if you listen to me in the confessional, I say like, I gave her like space to see like all the other connections. I already knew her. I didn't have to try to break the ice. I didn't have to try to figure out who she was. I kind of on the base level already knew what that situation was. And so for the first, I don't know, 2-3 weeks, I played it light, you know what I'm saying? And I kind of explored and I talked to everybody. It wasn't a stone that I left unturned. That was even why that date was so quick with Amber that was out in the park, right? Because I noticed that I hadn't talked to her. Whether it was Andrea or Ida or Tressa or whomever, you don't get to see it, but I had like real in-depth conversations with every woman to really try to uncover who they were as a person. Of course, I was physically attracted more to some than others, but I didn't let that get into the way of someone potentially being for me.
Okay. Okay. So on the show Ready to Love, obviously you're on the show Ready to Love. You get to the mixer. We see you first of all with Stacey. I put in my review that I thought that Stacey did a good job at first, throwing her body at you, just to make you feel like she was interested. I know that they stopped. I know they didn't allow you guys to go on per dates per se, wasn't it? I know you guys were having an interesting conversation before Ida got pushed to jump in. But what was your connection with Stacey like, and what happened to that? Because it looked like it tailed off somewhere.
Now Stacey was interesting. So I had written Stacey off. The first time I was like, oh, 3 kids? Okay, cool. She probably don't want any more. All right, bottom. That was it. I put her like in the bottom with Tressa immediately. And then it was at the brunch the next day that she was just talking to me about, what her situation was in her previous marriage and, what her family dynamic was and how everything was set up and how she was looking for somebody to step into that and like what role it would play and she had it kind of like all mapped out. And you know what I'm saying? She was like, yo, her family was ready to accept her and be willing to give her the space to date and not her having to navigate being a mom so tough, right? You know what I'm saying? Being a single parent trying to date can, this reason why I haven't dated a whole lot of women with kids, not because I have some type of like, oh, I'm not going to date a woman because she has kids. Usually a woman with kids that's raising them by themselves doesn't have a whole lot of time to date, and so she had like a really strong support system and it was dope. And so it immediately kind of was like, oh, okay, hold on, wait. She was at the top for a minute. I guess they didn't never show that, but she was definitely high up there on my interest level, but we never got to have like a one-on-one date. I only was on like one date with her. It was a group date, that the kitchen, the cooking date or whatever that you saw.
Remember that you was it pork? Was it?
Yeah, man, that was impressive because I said that in.
I saw that. I saw your face. You was excited by that.
I was like, yo, I said that in passive. I mean, like we talked probably. I talked to her the most and the longest at the brunch, easily. And so, we were talking about all of the stuff with family. We was talking about, how we were raised. I was talking about my mom. I was talking about a bunch of different things. So some little trivial fact that I don't eat pork or allergic to seafood, and you remembered it outside of a 3-hour conversation. And I know you're going around talking to, nine other guys at the same time and still trying to make connections and have a time to, create best friend relationships with a whole nother person. Like that's a woman. It's like, yo, like it let me know that she was, in the conversation that me and her was having.
Okay. So then you said obviously you didn't really go on any outside dates with Stacey then as well. You didn't go on any outside dates?
Me and Stacey definitely went a date like outside of the show. But I think they caught wind of me doing that kind of fast and they told me to calm down. They was like, yo, because it was just like, yo, if you make like, how are we going to tell this story? Which I got. And so I stopped. I probably shouldn't have though.
I hear you on that. Okay. I hear you. So they kind of stopped that and happening, and then obviously, and then she. I mean, were you backing her in the deliberations, or was it just a case of, when the situation came with was it Frick and Frack, you kind of departed?
That's not what happened. But I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it to be like that was the reason why she got pushed out of the show. That's not what happened.
Oh, not her being pushed out, but in terms of you and her, like, like in terms of like, I know you dated a little bit outside of the scene, but where does it frizzle out? Because obviously, only up we know why. I know why she got kicked out. But I'm saying, obviously, with the way it frizzled out for you, why did it frizzle out? Because you guys had a connection.
It did. So for me, it came down to 4 women. Right? It was 4. It was really simple. It was, you could put it in the categories of those that have been married with kids and those who hadn't and don't. And so you had Kyra and Chrysanthemum. Both of them were not married ever and didn't have children. And then you had Alexis and you had Stacy. Both who were married for substantial amounts of time and that had kids. And that's kind of where I'm at. Now the caveat was that Stacy and Chrysanthemum, they were together a lot. I would try to call them or FaceTime one and they would be together. And so I would never want to be like in that space. And I know that they said, and I think they were pretty good about not necessarily, at least they said, you can't trust. They was like, yo, we're not going to talk about who's saying what, or that's not what it is that we did. But, you know, in that environment, you really have to make the best use of your time. So you really, like, if you had a 30-minute conversation with one woman or a 40-minute conversation after you were done with your day, you put down the phone and you picked it right back up. You know what I'm saying? And so with both of them being in my space interested, I didn't want to be like, oh, okay, have a 30-minute conversation with Chrysanthemum and then pick up the phone again and then call Stacy. They're in the same room. Come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not cool for me. Like, regardless of whether it was comfortable or not for them and they understood it, like, I wouldn't do that. And so I didn't, which meant that limited, you know what I'm saying, the amount of time that I got to talk to both of them. So when it came time for one of them necessarily leaving or going, I didn't want to see Stacy go. I fought for Chrysanthemum too. But as far as in the context of the show, I couldn't really make that be anything because I hadn't had any interactions with them that was substantial on the show.
Are you talking about both Chris and Stacy? Because
I had one date with Chrysanthemum and we went bowling. You don't see it at all. I was on no group dates with her, nothing like that. So we had one date, and then I actually had 2 group dates, but we might as well call it one because she was actually on the date where we played like cornhole, when we threw the bean bags or whatever. She was on that date too, but we didn't get to interact at all. So she might as well have not been there. The date where I was with Liz and I figured out that she was celibate and all of that, right? Or abstinent. Yeah, she was there at that date too, but you don't even get to see that she was there. Like the way they cut it, you don't even know she was there.
Okay, so let me ask one last time: why did you and Stacy not make it? What actually happened, bro?
It was no opportunity for it to happen. It was just no opportunity for it to take place.
Okay, fair enough. I'll leave that Stacy one behind. We can chat about it later. So you and Alexis fly. Okay, you and Alexis fly. Seemingly got on quite well at points. We know that Alexis fly. Came at you.
What was that? Huh? Saturday 365. Look, she's funny. You get into it. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries, Cap. You and Alexis Fry seem to have a connection. She came into you quite strong. I think the audience took a dislike to the strength she brought to the room, which might have to be brought down a little bit. Where she was coming on with a sexual, prowess. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. I reviewed it and I said this is too much even for me, but it may not have been too much for you. But although in the cutscenes it did seem like it might have been a little bit too aggressive. And when I say aggressive, not the fact she's aggressive, but just with the the innuendos. It's a bit heavy-handed. You understand? It felt like that. What was your kind of experience in terms of that date and how it went?
Right. So I was definitely a participant. Right. I know the way they cut it, it made it seem like I just didn't have any, saying she was just the person that was hitting me with all these innuendos. No, that's not how it went. So we was jabbing each other back and forth with innuendos. And then once it seemed where it was like, oh, okay, we were both having a conversation, there's layers to a conversation. There's the surface layer, and then there's always like an undertone, right? And only certain people are able to kind of pick up on that. And when you're in that space and locked in with somebody, of where you can have multi-layered conversations, that means then you could kind of create your own language. Like me and you could be talking, and it could be everybody around us, and we're having a conversation that seems seemingly harmless, but we're talking about something completely different, right? So that's kind of what it was at first. But yeah, I think when I was trying to switch gears and get to know her a little bit more, it was like she didn't see the switch, and she was kind of still in that space, and that's kind of where the disconnect was. So I was like, all right, cool. We see that there's sexual chemistry. I think you're attracted. You think that I'm attractive. Okay, great. What else is there, right? And so I felt like it's very few times where I'm being in a conversation and get out aggressed sexually. Wow. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, yo, hold on, wait a second now. Like, so it definitely was where it like took me back, but it wasn't this thing where like, oh, okay, I'm don't like her anymore or whatever. It was just kind of one of those rare situations where this woman's desire or sexual wit in the way she was, you know what I'm saying? She was good with her words. Like, come on, like she had a mouthpiece on her, and she was able to be real slick and cunning and witty. So like I find that attractive, even though it could be where I was like, I wanted to get into a more serious conversation and didn't.
Okay, so you for you it's cool. You found it attractive. You was happy to go and flow with it.
And the only other thing is about like, and you didn't see me tell her, but they showed one time she did it more than once about her grabbing my beard, and it's just like, yo, this is the first time we're around each other. This is the very first date. I was like, how would you feel if I like just grabbed and caressed your face? Like this is attached to my face. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of really, really familiar. But she was confident. So confidence is definitely attractive. Yeah, but it's always it's levels to it. But she didn't overstep so bad where it was like, no, get away from
me. Okay. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. So obviously, I guess I wanted to ask the question. So, was the connection with Alexis genuine, or was this part of your game?
No, absolutely.
What about the Alexis drew you in?
Again, confidence. The fact that we did have in-depth conversations, like you don't get to see any of those. We had like deep conversations about things that obviously she talked to me about her spirituality. So that did happen for the people that were out there. And I just was honest about where I was at in my spiritual walk and journey. Like, am I a super religious person? No. Had I found a church home here in Houston? No. But have I been in spaces and time where I grew up in the church and attended church as an adult in Chicago? Absolutely. So, I don't think that was ever like an issue, you know what I'm saying, about, my question and in my belief, like people try to make it seem. But we just didn't have like in-depth conversations about it like continuously.
Okay. So when you obviously get to the very end, you're talking at the tower and you're saying pretty much she's the one that you need and the other person's what you want, and you called her a safe option, bro. No, you can't. You called her a safe option, bro. You called her a safe option. What's going on there, bro?
So my whole conversation throughout the whole taping of the show was creating a safe space, because a lot of what was going on was you were having conversations with people and you were opening yourself up and you were being vulnerable, right? And then you were hearing something back from like somebody else. And it was like, yo, I didn't have that conversation with you. Like, I was having this conversation with this person in confidence. And so a lot of that whole safe talk was about that. And it was geared and focused around that, right? And so any conversation that I felt like that I was in with Alexis, I didn't hear it back. You know what I'm saying? And so, but I do also feel like everybody is in conflict with, what it is that you want versus what it is that you need. I think that, whether that
Alexis.
I told you in that situation, she was definitely like what I felt like I needed, you know what I'm saying, to have. She was kind of the more unconventional woman that like I wouldn't have, you know what I'm saying? Like I kind of would, but I wouldn't have been in that situation with as deep as I was outside of the show. You know what I'm saying? She would have definitely been somebody that I would have caught my eye, but I don't know if it would have got to that space. Right.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I would have looked and did a lot of other stuff if I was going off what I would normally do. But so I was taking advantage of that.
So why didn't you choose her and you
I
chose
did.
Kara?
I did. And I changed my mind.
Why you changing your mind, bro? You got what you needed and you changed it
Sure.
for what you wanted.
Sure. It was basically because I felt like I didn't want to be responsible. Like I felt like she was deeper into it at the time than I was. That's it. Like, and I didn't know if I could like get there. She was all in, and at the time, I didn't see all of the stuff that happened with Ron. I would hear it, but I know I didn't like it. Like, so the part that you didn't see is that every time that she was coming at me, guns blazing, she was also mentioning Ron and like what Ron was doing and how Ron was treating her. And I was like, yo, if you like Ron, like be with Ron. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? But don't try to position and say what Ron is doing or how Ron is being is like motivation for me to do something. Cause I'm just gonna be me. Yeah.
Okay, so she kept mentioning Ron and everything, so that's what turned you off then.
Yeah, for sure. But it's because she definitely had enough fire in her. You know what I'm saying? So who was that? How you said it? Laganye?
I wouldn't know.
Or nah? But she was like men are hunters. She had enough fire and tried me enough times, and come with the challenge card, and I'll be like, all right, hold on, wait a second, and I hit her with the calm, like, hold on, wait, let's have a conversation about this instead of getting into some type of argument. You know what I'm saying? So. Definitely. I definitely wanted a woman that was more assertive than not. I didn't need necessarily a go along to get along woman. I doesn't interest me.
Okay, so she was definitely the one that you needed, but she mentioned Ron way too much. That was
Sure.
also a turn off.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. I want to avoid asking why you chose Kara till later. Your castmate Ron came out and said, AJ, you done left Alexis out for 2 hours at the top in the house, bro. Listen, I need to know, bro. Did you stand up Alexis for 2 hours? Did you leave her? Did you leave her?
Short answer, yes. But no, it was more to it than that. It was more to it than that. It was basically, and I didn't know he did all of that. I didn't know he put her in a room and did all of that. I didn't know any of that. So we had a party, right? And so only a few people left. It's 20 people there, right? Basically, just about. It was only a couple of people that was missing. But you got 20 people there, like all of the women there, all of the guys are there. The guys break out and have a conversation. We're talking about game plan. We're talking about who likes who, what's going on. It's respectability. It's politics. You guys understand what the politics are about what it is that we're doing. So you can have an understanding about what's happening. And while this is going on, like all of the women or the women that were left, I'm assuming they're all just upstairs, they kicking it, have a good time. And nobody cared if Ron left. It's your house. You want to make sure that, you know what I'm saying, people are good, they got what they need, and they doing what they need to do. And you look up and, now everybody is leaving. Oh, man, this, you know what I'm saying, y'all been down here too long. We leaving. And it's like, oh, damn, it was a good conversation. That was my bad. But to make it seem like she was just up there by her lonesome by herself. Now, if she stayed in some room by herself, then I get it. But there were other women there. There was a bunch of women there that I expected were doing the same thing that the guys were doing downstairs.
But they weren't.
That's not. That's not. Like, why did she break off into a room by herself? Wait, I wouldn't know why that would be a thing. Like, there were other women that were there that were upstairs. That it was hookah, it was drinks, it was a bunch of stuff that happening, and it was just the ladies and Ron. Really, you know what I'm saying? So,
did she bring this up to you that she was waiting in the room for 2 hours or so, like later on, or
no,
so she didn't tell
never.
you?
It was never a thing. It was never like a thing that was like any level of contention by it. Like, so no. So to hear about it afterwards, like it was like some type of thing, was like, hold on, when did this become a thing?
So she was out here 2 hours in the attic by herself. Okay. Okay, so okay, that's emotional. So I mean, and then obviously the situation with the whole, she was feeling like you weren't really interested, and then you laid a smackdown on her with the kiss, with the lips. You put the lips on her, and she then decided, okay, I think he's feeling me again. Talk to us about that. What happened there, man? Because you put a smackdown on her real hard. Like it seemed like she was gonna let you go, and then you put a smackdown on her, bro.
Yeah. And of course, like, it's different between having like an intimate moment like that on camera versus not having it on camera, right? So if I was like, yo, that was the first time me and her kissed, I would be lying. You know what I'm saying? So I think it was more so about where she wanted that public reassurance. You know what I'm saying? And I was willing to do that in that moment, um, because it was just like, yo, you're worrying about this too much, and that was kind of some of the sorry, that was some of like the thing that made it tough, right? Because you meet this woman that has all of this confidence, and then you see it kind of be like, what is this? And did it go away? Like, what's happening now with the level of confidence that it is? Just continue to be you, because you've been doing great, and I'm interested in you, and I know I'm not playing the game. No, I'm not doing anything like that. If I'm giving you time and I'm talking to you, I'm interested in you, and it's a possibility for this to be us in the end, right? So I was trying to convey that as best I could.
Wait, okay, excuse me again. So what were you trying to convey? Because AJ, you are listen, AJ, you are the top dog in this game, bro. Listen, you are lethal, bro. I love the game. Bro, you lethal. You just spun me a whole lot of baloney. You didn't even give me the right answer.
No.
Nah, bro, you
Right.
didn't give me an answer, bro. Why did you kiss her knowing you weren't feeling it, bro?
No, that's not. So see, look, you putting words in my mouth there.
All
No,
right.
so I said that she needed, some public reassurance. Like, I felt like what we had, or the way that we connected, was always just a us thing, right? And so
Mm,
then
mm, mm, mm.
when I was around everybody else, what she felt like I did was only speak and talk about Kyra, right? And so she wanted it to be, or I felt as though she needed it to be, where I had some type of public declaration that I was interested in her and that I was serious about her. And so that's what that kiss was.
So your kiss was a public declaration, basically, to her to say, "I'm on to you. I like you."
Absolutely. Yeah, and I don't care who knows that I like you. Like, I like you, but I was always saying that in the deliberation. I always had her on my list about, what I'm saying, who a person was that I was interested in. She was never not part of the conversation. And I think that it is remiss and a disservice to anybody to try to go ahead and rank. How do you rank love? Or how do you rank relationships? What's your best relationship, Kojo? All of the people that you're not with right now.
I could rank it. I
you
could
you,
rank it.
you
I
can
could
rank
rank
it.
it. I could
I
rank it.
feel like comparing that type of stuff like that is whack. I
What?
do.
Why? Why? surely somebody's understood you the best out of all the girls you've been with. Even if it's a year or even if it's 6 months, there's been a girl that's surely broken down AJ, gone past the walls that you put up, has undid all the wires that are all muddled up, put them in the right way. Who has broken through to AJ, the real AJ? I want to know that before we go any further. Who has broken through to the real AJ? In the last few years, who has got through to you? I want to know that.
Nah. It's so because that's just I've never dated in a single file line. So it wasn't crazy to me to be in the space dating. Now that many women all together was a bit much, and I wouldn't do it. And so I had to like isolate it down to a quick 3 real fast. Mm-hmm. But like I never like enter into a space and do a bunch of comparing. I say, hey, what do I like the most? What do I enjoy the most? And I get that you feel like that's ranking, but it's not. Like it's not for me. Mm-hmm. It's not. Okay. It's not.
Okay, fair enough. So still talking on Alexis. Obviously, she spoke about wanting a spiritual leader. She kind of held Run to the fire with this spiritual leader stuff. But did she ask you questions about are you a spiritual leader?
As far as a spiritual leader, you know what I'm saying? No, that was never part of our conversation. But so as far as that. Yeah, but as far as about like us talking about religion, what we believe and how she wanted to raise her child and all of that, I was with it. Like, yeah, for sure. And can
you was down to be a spiritual leader?
Yeah, and can I lead in prayer? And was I opposed to going to church or whatever? Like, now I don't know what type of church that she was at. You know what I'm saying? I might not necessarily like that church, but I wasn't just not opposed to going to church. Like church, I was raised in the church. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So when I go home, I still go to church with my grandma, my mother, and all of that. I go to church. I just haven't done it here. You know what I'm saying? I haven't found a church home here in Houston.
So basically, she didn't give you the heat she gave Ron.
No,
she didn't. So okay, so Ron got more of the heat than you did. So do you know why she gave you less of the heat? I want to know. Do you in your mind know why she gave you less heat than she gave than Ron?
Because I felt like a lot of the conversations that we got into, like she was learning from me, or we talked about a whole lot of other things where she was able to grow. Like she saw that, hey, I'll be able to learn from this man. I'll be able to follow this man because he knows a lot about a lot of things, right? And so I think that just my knowledge base, about what it is that I knew and how I talked to her didn't leave room for her to question whether or not I could lead her
or not. That's interesting. Okay. I mean,
like I learned a lot from you. It's like it's never been a time that I have a conversation with you where I don't walk away and I learn something, or I have to go look up something, and you know what I'm saying? Like she always left a conversation feeling I don't know, full. Yeah.
I find it odd that she would pressure Ron into a leadership of spiritual leadership for going forward, but she's satisfied with your wisdom and your knowledge, which necessarily might not necessarily be a spiritual leadership. That's not equatable. So she put the pressure on him, but didn't do it for you. So she made an exception for you. Is it the beard? Is it the good looks that she just gave an exception for, bruh?
That I can't. I can, like, all of this stuff with Ron and stuff I didn't see or didn't know about it. Like it's interesting seeing all of the other people's connections. I only was really focused on how a person showed up for me. I really didn't care what other people's experiences were. And like I said, the men, we really weren't talking and discussing and sharing like in depth about what was going on in those situations either, right? And so it wasn't like we had a bunch of outside information other than what our own personal experiences were.
It's interesting that you say that, you felt like Alexis was always trying to put Ron into the conversation, because Ron also said that you was the one that she was always putting into the conversation.
Yeah. Jason said the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Okay. No, last question on Alexis. Why didn't you return her calls? It looked like she was going for a storm at the time, bro. Why did you just leave her
don't do
calls
that.
alone, bro?
No. That's not what was happening.
That's not what
So,
happened. Okay.
no. So the date with Ron, right, where the whole thing with Ron, that was literally the night before we were all leaving to go onto the trip. So it wasn't like days. It wasn't at all. And so it was literally like, I still was dealing with real regular life. Like you trying to balance all of that out. I had dates and stuff that I went on that same day too, and then you still got to pack, and you got to go to the store to buy last minute stuff and all of that. So I just really didn't see that, text until late. So when I told her like, oh, I didn't see this till late, I thought she was asleep. I'm going to see you tomorrow. We're about to spend the night together. It's nothing that crazy where I need to talk to you tonight. And so did I know all of this stuff happened with her and Ron? But a lot of things though that people said, like, would I really want to discuss that and get into it? Not really, but I was always objective. So I didn't really care. Like if somebody brought somebody up in conversation or said what their experiences were, I looked at it from an objective lens. I didn't try to go like, "Ooh, okay, I know this information now, and let me figure out a way to use it to my benefit." Like again, I was about being that safe space and kind of just being a safe person for like a person to show up and give what their experience was, whether it was with me or not.
Okay. Fair enough. I can only see fair enough. All right. Cool. Let's talk about your favorite person, Kyra. Okay. This is the one that everyone wants to know about. They want to know about Kyra. They want to know about the connection with Kyra that you guys have. First of all, I wanted to break it down, bro. What happened with this El Cheapo stuff? Now I know you got the hat for it. I want to know exactly what happened with the El Cheapo stuff. Yeah, what happened at this date? That the date did not connect and bang. That you did not end up paying, sir. Okay, why don't you carry two cards? Why don't you carry mobile phone banking? What happened on that day, sir? The crowd wants to know.
This was before mobile phone banking. That would have been clutch. That would have been clutch. Like
Okay.
4 or 5 years ago, mobile phone banking wasn't like a thing, or at least not at the
Okay, yeah,
bank.
you can tap with your phone. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So cash, why not cash? You're on the scene, bro. You're a party. You're a party.
Hate that.
But you're a party. You're a party. You were in the streets. You know what it's about. Why did you not go to a date and not be prepared, sir?
So I thought I was,
Huh?
but obviously, who goes on a date and purposely shows up without, being but I started the date out not being properly like so here's the thing, right? The first
Okay,
time
go
me
on.
and Kyra went out, I asked her out kind of on a business meeting type of thing, right? So we were trying to work together. I was looking for an entertainment lawyer. She was working in entertainment law at the time. And then that's when I realized, okay, she was from Chicago. We went to the same high school, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it was like,
You
man,
went
can
to the
I
same
take,
high school.
yeah, it was like, yo, can I take you out? You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Okay, cool. So we go, and no, and that's not even how it happened. Like I was trying to get her out, you know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't like that. I think I probably had asked her like 3, 4 times, and she was always busy. So she hit me and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be free this day. I got a spot for us to go to. Blah blah blah. Here's the spot. So you can meet me there after work, right?" So she didn't give me any like heads up about the place. She was expecting me to have like Googled it or did something. Now I dressed down, you know what I'm saying? Essentially, like at work or most of my day, I'm dressed down. So I get to the place, she's in, one of these Kyra gown type of situations, and I got a baseball cap on, J's and jeans. So she's immediately like, "Yo, bro, we look like we going to two different places." You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up? And so she kind of was annoyed at that. And then I could have jabbed her back, and I have since. But when we get to the place, it was a private event that was happening at the place that we were supposed to go to. So we needed to leave and go to like a whole nother place. She got there before me. She started a tab. She had a drink already. I ordered a drink. And she still kind of had an attitude based on that, right? And so it was kind of a situation where it was like, all right, we have this one drink. This was kind of a fail. Let's get out of here. She goes to the bathroom. The situation with Makara happened. At the time, though, like I was on a really tight budget. I was trying to like pay off my student loans and do everything. So I was doing the whole David Ramsey, you budget exactly what it was that you budgeted for. You know what I'm saying? Like you got your money down to a science. You know what I'm saying? You know what you got. And then you forget about whatever, something happening on auto pay or whatever. And of course you got
payments coming out already.
All different accounts and stuff.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, okay, I only brought out one card because if I bring the card with all of the money on it, like, you know, you can have a good time and be like, oh, okay, I blew my budget and I didn't want to do that. So I brought one method of payment that I thought that was going to be good for the amount of what it was we was going to be doing. Something simple like a single drink. You know, we meeting up after work is nothing light. That's the reason why I didn't think I needed to dress up. And then so the whole situation happened and it was just kind of like, oh, you know what I'm saying? And so it was like, all right, no, I can't switch this out. It was already a tab. I let the tab happen. You know what I'm saying? It was as simple as that. I didn't think it would be a thing until the next day, and it was a thing. And so you were saying,
wait. Before you go forward, okay, wait. So my throat. So okay, so obviously you tried to switch the tab. They're saying you can't switch the tab. It has to go with a card that's originally opened the tab, right?
Well, no, I could have switched it, but you know what I'm saying? It was a situation where it was like, oh no, your card is declined for this amount. Like I didn't know.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't look to see. It's just like, yo, it's declined. All right, great. Okay.
So why not at that point did you not think, rotted, let me get my mobile banking and transfer the funds?
Again, we already talked about this.
No, but 5 years ago, mobile bank was around. I worked in banking. Mobile banking's around.
Oh well, I did.
Not tap pay. I just didn't transfer the funds.
I didn't think about it. I didn't think that it would. It's a single drink. It was a drink. You had a drink. I had a drink.
Yeah, but bro. Okay, no, I'm not even cutting this. Listen, it's a drink. It's a drink. It's only a drink. So I do get that part. I do get that part.
I let down that amount. That's you know what I'm saying. I apologized for it after the fact, but I didn't look at it to be where it was going to be the thing that it was. And so
wait, you tried to pay though. So you did know.
I did.
Why did you try to pay then? If it's just drinks, why would you try to pay?
I tried to pay because I'm a guy that if I'm out with a woman, I pay.
Exactly. So that's the point.
Regardless of whether it's somebody that I'm on a date with or not. It could be a friend, or it could be a woman or somebody. And it's just because she's a woman and she's with me, I'm going to pay.
Yeah. So that's correct. I've got no beef for that. You're right on it, bro. You're right on it. Because you are a great man, you would happily want to pay for her. So what happens when you finish and then it doesn't go through and then you get home and you think to yourself, okay, am I not going to do what I do normally, which is be a great man and just say, hey, Kara, look, my car at the time.
Don't do that, Kojo. No,
bro. Wait, bro. Bro, I am with you, bro.
You're adding that part in of where like a guy's worth and value as a great guy is.
You are a great guy. You are a great guy. Are you not a great guy?
No, but you're equating it to a great guy pays for things. That's the simplest.
No. You said
that's the same thing that Liz did. You're a gentleman, right? You're a gentleman. You let the guy go first.
Are you not a gentleman?
You're a gentleman, right? You're a gentleman. If you let the woman speak first. No, don't do that.
No. I'm saying because you said, okay, you do normally pay, right?
Sure.
Right? You do normally pay. So no beef. I'm with you on that, right? You do normally pay. So I'm saying to you that if that mindset is in you that you do normally pay, would it have not been something that would have been on your mind that even when you got home, after just a message, hey, look, I appreciate you paying for the thing. Sorry I couldn't pay because I did try to pay, etc. Or you just say, listen, hey, what's your details? Let me transfer the money to you. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, carry on your story, though.
All of that happened, Kojo. All of that.
You did message that.
So the only thing that didn't take place is me explaining, you know what I'm saying? I just said, oh man, they didn't, it was complications with switching the card out, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Like I said, you got this. I'll go ahead and, you know what I'm saying, get whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause yeah, I was dishonest at that point, and I had to admit to that's what that was. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? You got it. And that was probably remiss on my part. But again, she invited me out. You know what I'm saying? And she picked the place.
That's
and she, you know, like that's she picked the place. She, all of these things. So it was just like, yo, and it wasn't like people was making it seem like we ran up the tab. You know what I'm saying? Like we had dinner.
Did you not?
No, we had a single.
What drink did you have? You gotta make sure you remember like a $19 drink.
No, this was something simple, man. It was like the whole thing. Look, it wasn't even a hot $40. We talk about $40. It was probably like $22 that we talking about. But I get it. It's the principle of it. It's not the money. It's the principle.
No. But wait, the principle is whoever invited whoever out pays.
No, I don't buy that either. Women invite people. Women invite you out all the time. You know, you should take me out. You should take me out to dinner on Friday.
No, if you take me out, you're paying. You don't said that, right? That's the game. Everybody knows that, right? So if you invite that person out, you're paying.
Usually, if I'm in a place, if I don't want to pay, I'm not going. So if I'm with a woman and we're out together, I'm probably gonna pay. You know what I'm saying? Unless they make that perfectly known up front and say, hey, I want to treat you to go out somewhere. That's the only time that I'm thinking and expecting the woman is gonna pay. She announced it beforehand. But if I'm together with the woman, regardless whether it was her idea or not, I'm just gonna assume that she's expecting me to pay.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you weren't together, so when you decided to try and pay that, okay. So the conversation after, when you get home, you're having a conversation with her, saying, and you let her know at the moment that you got home and you had a conversation, the first conversation you guys had, did you let her know your card declined and you couldn't pay?
No, never. No.
Okay.
But I thanked her. I said, oh, thank you for the drink or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I got the next, like I did all of that. You know what I'm saying? And I told her like, oh, okay, it was a complication with the car, but yeah, don't worry about it. Cool. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. But I think, and then it was the next day I reached back out to her, you know what I'm saying? We had a conversation, and then she brought that back up of where, you know, what she was accustomed to, you know what I'm saying? And being out with God. Yeah, and I was looking like at that time, I was like, because you got to remember, the date went bad. It wasn't just the whole matter of the paying for thing. We were at odds about what went bad. I was late. Then after I was late, I didn't have on what she felt was the proper attire. Then, you know what I'm saying? Like, so now we're at the bar. We had to go to a different place, and she had an attitude. You know what I'm saying? And like, I don't really like attitudes like that, especially over something, you know what I'm saying, small and trivial like that. So I wasn't never finna go ahead and get deeper into what the situation was. If I felt and got an understanding type of vibe from her before in any of the previous situations, then yeah, we could have got into that. But that wasn't the vibe, and so it wasn't the time where I was finna go ahead and get into that to have any more friction at that current spot. I just was like, yo, thank you for the drink. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. I go ahead and do that. I had an issue with taking care of this. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Obviously we went out again, but it was just like, yo, she hit me with what she was accustomed to, and it came off a kind of way to me. And it was just like,
entitled. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Accustomed to, and what you usually look, don't it's the same thing with me talking about with Alexis and Ron. Don't talk to me about what other guys are doing. Like, I'm not another guy. Okay, well, if you're accustomed to that, then I don't know what to tell you. So it wasn't me gaslighting her. It was just me kind of just being like, yo, like, okay, it happened. All right, like, that's cool. Especially under the context of her not knowing and understanding what took place and happening. But for me to have been El Cheapo for like the duration of that was something that I didn't know at all. You know what I'm saying? And I could have easily had been like super offended at that, because I seen her and her friends several times out and about in the course between, you know, then and us being on the show. And it was at least always cordial, right? It wasn't ever no energy but the note it kind of like, oh, maybe the joke, maybe kind of the butt of this joke that, was an inside thing for her and her friends, it kind of was like, oh, okay. But again, I feel like a person having money or not having money is like the most trivial thing. That like money comes, it goes, it's whatever. You can be up, you can be down, you know. And I'm in a great place.
Just to confirm, who invited who out? This is very important. So Kyra invited you out.
Yes.
Then she has no place to complain. If you invite someone out, you pay. This is the rule. Ladies know this rule.
I don't agree with that, but I hear where it is.
This is the rule. I didn't make it up, bro. I didn't make up. The audience made it up. They've been shooting me all the time saying about whoever invites you out. You're right. Now she invited you out. She has to pay. There's no way to complain.
I wish that people actually upheld that, but that's not. You already know, Kojo. That's not.
I don't care what they do. They have to uphold the principle. The principle is that whoever invites whoever out must pay. Therefore, she invited you out. She has no leg to stand on to set a standard which she invited you out for. I don't invite you out to come and now pay for my thing. You decide to invite someone out. This is you. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way I'm getting you out of that one. Just keep. Let me save you.
It is what it is.
Let me save you. Let me save you.
But I don't agree with you. But I allow you to save me.
You better agree, because if you don't agree with me, they're gonna tear you apart.
No,
let me save you.
I've been on a whole reality dating show. I've been out here getting tore apart. But I look at what people have to say about me. People have had more harsh things to say about me in this live than on the dating show. I'm looking at some of this. It's like, yo, AJ, you're boring as hell. This nigga rambling around this piece. I'm looking at that. Like those have been the things, and it's probably the reason why they cut me out. I ain't have no dialogue.
So wait, how would you? Okay, this is a real question. How would you have gone back to Kyra in a real relationship? Okay, how would you have gone back if you found out that she called you El Cheapo? I know you obviously didn't find that out till now, because you wouldn't have known that, because they didn't tell you this until you saw the show back, I'm guessing. How would you have known?
I knew then.
Oh, you knew then?
Yeah.
When you say then, you mean on the show, or you mean before?
Yeah, on the show. You know, she kind of let me know. She was like, oh, and by the way, I mentioned this, and this is what it was, and this is what I said. Me and my friends have been calling you El Cheapo. And I was like, all right, cool. So it wasn't like a thing where it was consistent, but she let me know. Like, that's the one thing that I could say about Kyra, right? She always was very intentional about keeping you informed. You know what I'm saying? About whatever was going on. Now, of course, I wanted to see her open up more. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I was like fighting and struggling for most of the show. But as far as her keeping you in the know, like, it's probably nobody that could, you know what I'm saying? She's going to play very on the up and up. There was nothing underhanded or, you know, shifty about how she moved. It was very, very honorable, very straightforward. It was what you saw was what
could this been a long-term dating scene when you know that you've already got the title amongst her and the friends, not just her, the friends, as El Cheapo? Is there a comeback for that? As a man, is there a comeback for that? Because the friends now know you're El Cheapo, sir.
That's why we went to Tony's, baby. We went to Tony's. I went on ahead.
Tony's not saving that, bro. No, you really know.
So I felt like I did that the next date, right? So the next date was like Top Golf. If you know anything about Top Golf, that could get pricey quick. We ate, drank, and played golf for a couple hours at Top Golf. So, you know, that was probably a good $200 date right there. You know what I'm saying? And it was still very early on, because regardless of whether or not she knew about it or not, I knew about it. And so when they asked me about it, the only reason why I was part of the show at all is because they asked me, hey, give us a disaster date story. And I was like, yo, that was a disaster for me, because it was something that was embarrassing. I wasn't going to throw a woman under the bus. I'm going to talk about something that I did that I didn't necessarily like, that happened on the date, that, you know, was a disaster date for me. Now, did I think that I was going to run into the woman that happened with? No. And what, you know what I'm saying? That was pure coincidence. And did I think that she was also going to that they were going to ask her that same question and that she was going to also reference that date on her own too, without having known that I was going to be on the show? No. And that was her referencing that without her having known the whole story. So that's to let you know how bad the date necessarily was. It was like maybe all 20, 30 minutes, maybe. It was just enough time to drink a drink and say, oh, okay, yeah, this is not, all right, let's get out of here. All right, thank you.
Okay, so cool. But you see that date that you lot had in the thing, right? It was production who paid for it. Kyra said the production paid for it. So you didn't actually make up for it. So how is this going to work in the long run if you don't get to change that narrative, bro?
No, it was other stuff that happened.
Okay, so you got to show that, that name is not earned.
Oh, look, hold on, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me go ahead and get it. Oh, look, bam, we switch it right over. Hold on, look. Again, if that's what anybody wants to think, I wear this outside and then people can see it in this around in Houston, because I think it's kind of funny to me, for real.
So wait, did you pay for anything? Did you pay for a day outside of the show then? That would have changed the narrative.
Wait, Kyra. Yeah,
Kyra paid for it. We're gonna be annoyed. She's gonna be...
Yeah, Kyra went on a bunch of dates outside of the show.
Okay, so you guys were actually dating outside of the show, and you managed to get you redeemed yourself.
Yeah, look, man, I when the whole storm and all that was happening, I was helping them from hotel to hotel room, taking them back to their crib and doing stuff. I was doing a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like, first of all, Kojo, is it something that I feel like I needed to redeem myself from? No. The answer to that is no.
You didn't think you had to redeem yourself?
No.
No. If you're going to be getting with that same woman, do you not think that, bro, you're going to have to change the narrative? You can't go to the friends knowing that, fam, they're calling you El Cheapo, blood.
Hey, so that's like saying that if you're with a woman that you're never expecting her to pay for anything ever.
No, I'm saying that the friends already know you as El Cheapo. You're going to have to do something to change the narrative, which you said you dated outside and you pay for stuff. So that is a change of narrative.
Yeah, no, but why? Like, people can think what they want to. Like, that's fine. I know what my pockets are like.
I know that, but bro, they don't know that. Listen, you're not, when you date someone, their friends have a lot of influence on them, right?
That's fine.
So obviously, if you are going to be dating that same person, of course you're going to have to redeem yourself, because you're already starting in a deficit.
So if I'm dating her, who am I dating? Am I dating her? Am I dating her friends?
Oh, you're dating her, but you have to know that her mind is also influenced by friends. Ask Eve and Adam in the garden. Adam wasn't dating Satan; he was only dating Eve, and Eve was still turned around by Satan. The words that people say.
Let's not go over there, because that's an interesting story that I like, right? Because
we'll talk about it after. Don't worry, you talk about it.
That's a whole other thing about like relationships and dating and men leadership and women bucking men's leadership. We could go deep into that, right? Because Eve ate the fruit and nothing happened, right? Why did anything? Because she didn't have a covenant with God. She had a covenant with Adam, right? You know what I'm saying? And Adam was responsible for all of the people in the land and also his mate, right? And so, you know what I'm saying? Eve did not disobey God. She disobeyed Adam, which is a whole nother thing. We could get into. We could go ahead and get into that. But he was supposed to have enough leadership skill to not be swayed by her. But that's
Absolutely.
In every movie ever, right? Especially one where folks are doing something, what's always their downfall? Some woman. Especially if it's a criminal movie or something, like, you know what I'm saying? Think about it. From Scarface, The Heat, to, Rome. You know what I mean? Wars was fought over a woman.
A lot. But before we go down that road, I know women are powerful. Before we go down that road, I need your honest thoughts on you and Kyra. Kyra, at the end, you chose Kyra. I want to know why you chose Kyra, knowing that, and especially at that conversation where she told you, she's still not convinced by you fully. She said she was moving towards you, but she wasn't fully convinced, and she wasn't going to just say AJ all of a sudden. But you decided to choose her, and I want to know why you switched. Why was there a switch? Because you had Alexis in mind.
Man, so like, no one knew what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
They was just basically like, yo, you're gonna have 2 dates.
Mm-hmm.
You got a date with Kyra and Alexis, and you seen I was struggling with it, and I didn't know how it was gonna go or what it was I was gonna pick, and it was a lot of stuff that had happened and that were outside things that were influences to that. But it was one thing that, you know, happened with Tommy when I was there at that fence. And I ultimately said it to Kyra when she asked me when we were sitting down, you know, after the fact, right? And I said, hey, sometimes it's not about necessarily making a choice that you feel is right at the time. Sometimes it's about making the choice that if you didn't make it, you feel like you would always question what if. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what Kyra was, you know what I'm saying, in that situation. She was somebody that I could see it being a great situation and going far. It was something that I had tried in the past. And to think about how serendipitous that is, right? For you to be from the same place, went to the same high school, and just barely miss each other in Chicago, to meet in Houston, to have a terrible, to, you know, have all of that be the case, and then to only to be on a television show where you had the date. So it's like, yo, like, and then, you know what I'm saying? Obviously it makes for like a really dope story, but that wasn't anything that swayed me in that situation. It was just, this was somebody that I had already had interest in, and they also were a pretty smart choice, right? You know what I'm saying? So Kyra's beautiful. She's presents very well. She's well spoken, um, articulate, established. Didn't have kids. Had never been, you know what I'm saying, married. But it was like, oh, okay. I didn't know necessarily. I didn't get in there with her to see if there was trauma there. She didn't wear it on her sleeve, but she doesn't wear it on her sleeve. So it was with other women, you could kind of see, you know, from their previous situations and relationships, it was still things that they needed to kind of, you know, work through or work on. And, you know, not to say that I'm also don't have my own stuff, right? But if you could pick, you want to pick the least amount of baggage. And she was one of the youngest women there. And so I want kids. I don't have any kids, you know what I'm saying? So just that whole thing of having it be a first experience, like, you know, my first child be her first child, like that's a thing, you know. I want it to be like, and figure that whole parenting thing out together. Like that's something that I always saw, and definitely kind of like wanted, you know. And that was a conversation that I even had with Alexis at some point, you know what I'm saying, telling her about that.
Sorry about that. I just froze quickly. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
Okay. So okay. So for you and Kyra, you're talking about the fact that fate brought you guys together again for the second time. So you looked like you were gonna pursue Kyra because you know fate kind of come around. You like you got a second chance, right? Okay,
absolutely.
so how did you feel? I guess now watching it back, I don't know if you were aware at the time because it seemed like, and I appreciate Kyra. I like Kyra a lot. You know what I'm saying? But what we saw at the end, that right there, she definitely had a lot more emotional investment in Jason than she made it out to be. Now you're watching it back. Does that really promote to you someone who is open to two people having dating them? Because that didn't seem like she's open to both people. That seems like she caught up.
I've been in that situation before, so I can't really, you know what I'm saying, like judge her harshly for that. You know what I'm saying? She communicated what I felt like she needed to communicate to me as best she could, and I went into it understanding and knowing that like I wasn't the person that was the top choice or the top pick. I went into that understanding that, so that wasn't necessarily a surprise. Can I say, looking back at it and watching it, makes me like, oh, did it hit you differently? Sure, for sure it hits you differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, but do I think that it could have been something that we could have got past? Absolutely. You know, you gotta continue to watch the
The
show.
show.
It's not over.
It's not over,
It's,
but she was in deep with my brother. Okay, cool. I mean, obviously you
even you know,
complain.
even though you, Kojo, you said like, yo, she was there with him, but not really there.
Yes,
Like
I did say that.
I always kind of felt that too. So I felt like if I could just get past whatever like her apprehensions were with me, then it would be like a different ballgame. It would be a
That's
different.
because a fight between you and Jason for Kyra, you would always win, isn't it?
I don't know if I will always win. Of course, I'm gonna feel like that.
9 times out
Like
of 10.
I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna win against any guy.
9 times out
Like
of 10. No, no, no. We're talking about specifically Jason. There was listen. I'll give you my perspective. You can say yes or no. Nod your head. You and Jason, I already said it from the very beginning when both went up against Kyra. You know you had the advantage in that particular fight. This is why you didn't struggle. This is why I don't think you struggled that much. I think you already knew you had this in the bag.
well, if it's definitely about like, yo, I've known Kyra for the amount of time that I know her, regardless of whether it's good or bad or not. Like time heals everything, right? So even if you had a bad experience with somebody, it's only so long that you can hold on to it, and that you in the familiarity of just you knowing each other will always kind of overshadow somebody that you just met. And that's essentially what happened even with Alexis, right? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I said. It's like, yo, it's somebody that I know, that I understand exactly what it is I'm getting, versus somebody new that's interesting, but definitely has things that I have reservations about, which was, the way like she was trying to compare me to Ron and do the whole thing with Ron, and then just me feeling like I would always be in the space of where what I said yesterday I would have to repeat. Dang, we had an understanding about this yesterday, but now it's somehow a problem again. Did you not get what I said yesterday? Because you said you did, but now we're having this same conversation. Like, what? Why? And,
Do
no.
you think? Do you think? Okay, let's move on to my last few questions now. Did you think that you and Kyra both had the same issue here? Both of you had walls up. None of you were trying to let that down, because from what we can see from both of you acting, both of you did have emotional walls up. And both of you, in your own particular way, Kyra not choosing, yourself being very cool and collected about not choosing either, both had the same type of game. No, I didn't
No.
choose. You
So
kind of chose at
no,
the end, but you know what I
I
mean? Like you had to choose
I
at a point.
chose. So the thing about it is right. Who really chose? Who? Alexis didn't choose me, did she?
I mean,
No.
well, she
Her
felt like she did.
situation with Ron blew up. Now, the granted, how it blew up or whatever, you know what I'm saying, that's irrelevant. But her situation with Ron blew up, and that's who it had been that she's been choosing. And based on what it is that you saw, you could look at it and say that Kyra situation with Jason, you know what I'm saying, kind of blew up or was rocky or in the space. But I didn't never look at any of that. I just went after, what it is I want, and was trying to connect with who I saw myself being drawn to, with the people that were there. Because obviously it was other connections that I had that, I would have liked to explore further than what I got the chance to do. Because again, this just was extremely fast. This was way faster than what I would move in real life. So that's the biggest thing.
Okay.
And
Final
so
question
I
then.
got,
Oh,
yeah.
go for it.
No, I was about to say, so I got Kyra. I didn't really, put a whole lot of pressure on her, but when the rubber met the road, it was just like, yo, look, you got to know, what I'm saying, what necessarily going on. And I spent most of, like, after the production wrapped up, like me and Kyra had like, a really dope talk, and we spent like a lot of the night, what I'm saying, talking and stuff. And so I thought that for me, that was like the last thing for me to really kind of, what I'm saying, had pushed through and be in the space of where it's like, okay, she can choose me, what I'm saying? And it just kind of wasn't the case. And so I was forced to choose her.
Fair enough. Final question. What did you learn from this process about yourself? What did you learn about this process? What did you learn about yourself in this process?
To not count women that have been married and have children out. Like, there's a lot of dope women out there that have been in relationships, that's been married, that have kids, that have a lot to offer, that are really, really dope. They just have to be willing to have more kids. That's all. Yeah, that's probably my biggest takeaway, because dating women that have been in sustained relationships and had that level of true partnership, they approach dating way differently than a single person that had never been married or never been in a relationship. Like, the compromise was different. The way that they approached it was just different, Yeah, that's Stacey and Alexis. I couldn't say that enough about Stacey or Alexis. That they had definitely opened my eyes up to a whole group of women that I probably was avoiding and neglecting.
Good points. Okay. Audience members, thank you so much. I know we went on for 2 hours here, so I appreciate your patience. Yeah,
you got to chop this up so I'm not rambling. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, we'll got you, man. I'll chop up everything, man. You're good, man. You're good. I got the edits on the. You know what I'm saying? I got you. Audience members, thank you so much. You all came out strong. 1,800 of you came out to see your boy AJ come out here and give us not the tea, but give us his truth on what his experience was on Ready to Love. Guys, I appreciate you. Stay locked, stay loaded, stay hydrated, and behave yourselves in them streets, okay? Because it's hot out there, and don't be an El Cheapo. In fact, you can be, because he's got the new merchandise. I'm sure he'll be coming out soon. I'm sure he'll be doing some. I appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded.